So as usual, the finances have won over the health. It looks like they have taken enough time to make sure that we cut down on our time. But don't worry, I'll cut down on my time. I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. There's some resound here. I hope there's no resound in the hall, because when I was sitting there, there was not much of resound. Okay. Okay, is it better now? Okay, my talk is on the science of exercise. In the next 15-20 minutes or so, I am hopeful that I'll be able to finish this talk. I'll be talking about how to optimize your exercise, get the best out of your exercise, the science of building muscle, strength, and metabolic health. After me, there's going to be an electrifying talk. So before the art of exercise comes in, I'll just prime you with the science. But sorry for bringing a little science back, a little biology back into the talk, because it's supposed to be a non-nephrology or non-medical talk. But I have to do this because this is how I can optimize and plan your exercise. No better audience for this than the doctors themselves. So again, it's not a case, but just I'm telling about this is a typical lifestyle of everybody. Middle-aged people, pre-diabetics, they want to become fit, they want to become stronger, but we try our best. We go to running, cycling 2 to 3 times a week. We go to gym with a little effort, though inconsistent. We pay yearly fees and then go for the first few days. We try our best, but result, nothing happens. So why this happened? Why is exercise not working out for us? Why are we not able to gain the full advantage of the exercise? So the first principle is to move away from exercise as an activity to a medicine-like thing. So it's a prescription. So every prescription needs a plan, a duration, some parameters to assess the outcome. Unless you have all this, exercise is not going to work. So the talk in the next 15 minutes is targeted at answering some of these questions, choosing between cardio and strength training, which is likely to work, how to get the best out of cardio. A lot of us do a cardio, but how to get the best result out of it. Intent should decide the type of exercise that you're doing, because somebody may be intending to do an exercise to lose weight. Somebody may be intending to do an exercise to become a sportsman. Somebody wants to become a basketball player. Somebody wants to be a football player. Somebody else wants to become fit and stronger. You don't need to lose weight. Losing weight is not everybody's choice of exercise. So you should have a plan in mind to know what you're going to do so that you can plan the required exercise. Then the next thing is, so why resistance training is important? Resistance training or strength training is often looked at by many people as something which is practiced by bouncers and bodybuilders. It's not for us. That's not entirely true. Resistance training or strength training is equally important for us also. So I'm sure the audience here understands the difference between cardio as an exercise vis-a-vis resistance training. Yeah. How to work less and gain more, how to get the maximum out of the exercise or the time that you're spending. Time is such a valuable asset for all of us. So how to make sure that you get the maximum out of the little time that you're spending on exercise, and understanding key parameters. So the first question that comes is cardio versus strength training. What is important? Who should do what? Should I do both? So let's go deeper into it. So first thing we'll talk about is cardio. Cardio is an excellent form of exercise, definitely. It improves your oxygen delivery and utilization. It promotes mitochondrial biogenesis. It enhances cardiac output. It improves your endothelial function. So it's an amazing exercise overall, and it improves what is called as VO2 max. VO2 max is something which is most of us have heard of. It's like the engine capacity of a person. It's like Ferrari versus a Maruti 800. A Ferrari has an engine capacity which is very, very big. It means the amount of fuel that it consumes and the amount of power that it generates is much higher vis-a-vis a normal engine. Same thing with human body. Somebody who has a high VO2 max has large oxygen consuming capacity. That means his muscles, his body is tuned to take up that oxygen. So he is extremely fit individual. So it does all this. So cardio is definitely an important exercise, but with the same tone, I say that the cardio has a significant number of disadvantages. particularly if you are 40 plus. There are some audience here, some students who are much younger, but particularly for 40 plus, there are significant disadvantages as well. The first one is the ceiling effect. That means if you continue to do cardio, after a certain level, there is a ceiling effect. You are unlikely to get any more benefit. Even if you work harder and harder, you're not going to get any more benefit. In fact, if you do cardio beyond a point, there will be sarcopenia. There will be loss of muscle. So you are getting a negative outcome out of a hard work that you're doing. And it does not prevent significant muscle loss even in the earliest stages. It has minimal effect on bone density, which is also quite important if you are aging. So with all these disadvantages, cardio falls a little lower in our cards. The other aspect of cardio which most people understand, which I want to give as an important take home today, is about knowing the zones of exercise. So what is a zone of exercise? Zone 1 of exercise is what is your maximum heart rate. Say for example, 220 minus age. We all know, so somebody is 40 years, 180 is his peak heart rate. So somebody who's doing an exercise with a peak heart rate of say 170, he is in the zone 5. So it is important to know at what zone are you exercising. So why is this important? If you look at this figure, oh I'm sorry, the image came out to be small, but if you look at this figure, I want you to concentrate on the third aspect of the exercise, carbs, fat. So if you see, if you are working in the easy or moderate pace, that means if your heart rate is somewhere between say 120 to 140, that's where you are working in the easy phase. What is the fuel that is consumed there? Can you see that image? Vis-a-vis somebody who's doing a vigorous activity, the fuel that is consumed there. So if you are doing a vigorous activity, the fuel that is consumed is glucose and glycogen. If you are doing a moderate activity, the fuel that is consumed is fat. So it's not uncommon for people to run very fast on a treadmill on the day you are extremely motivated to run very fast on the treadmill and then gain nothing out of it. You're only going to burn the glucose. So at the end of that glucose burning, you go home and you eat some food, again you got back all your glycogen. So you have not gained absolutely anything. So the best way to lose fat is by exercising at a moderate intensity. A brisk walk, a little cycling for a long period of time. That's what gives you the fat burning zone. So you are in the fat burning zone if you are exercising moderately. But if you are doing excess work, you are running on a treadmill at a very high speed, 10 kilometers per hour, 12 kilometers per hour, you are not going to lose your fat. Fat burning zone is different. So that's where the intent comes. What is your intent of doing exercise? If your intent of doing exercise is to lose weight, work at a lower heart rate zones. If your intent of exercise is to build strength, build stronger muscles, build performance, then you have to work at all levels, but also at a higher levels. So those surprise responses we see in one odd person. You have been working hard in the gym, you have been trying to run and lose weight, while the other, your friend is only walking for 45 minutes in the evening while talking on his phone to his friends. He is likely to lose more weight than you. That is because he is working in the right zone. So knowing the right zone is very important. So when you are exercising, plan your intent and then do the exercise so that you get the maximum advantage out of it. So intent drives everything. So if your intent is to lose weight, intensity of exercise should be low to moderate. Whereas if your intensity is to build stamina, strength, run a marathon, play football, or become a basketball player, you should work in the all zones. So that summarizes the disadvantages of cardio as an exercise. Does not prevent sarcopenia, minimal effect on bone density, and faster plateau of metabolic benefits that are likely to happen. The second comes the resistance training. So what about resistance training as a form of exercise? Resistance training is extremely good for these 5 reasons. It prevents sarcopenia, it prevents osteoporosis, falls and stability. Falls tend to decrease, stability improves, improved BMR, more calorie burn, and glucose sink. Glucose sink is what I want the audience to concentrate on. So what is a glucose sink? So muscle has GLUT4 receptors, which takes a lot of glucose with little or no help from insulin at all. So here comes the concept of insulin surges, which decides on the metabolic risk, fat risk, obesity risk. So after you take a meal, the next 30 to 45 minutes, there will be an insulin surge. The idea is to keep these insulin surges shorter and flatter. You want a lower insulin surge for a short period of time only. Insulin is a bad hormone. It prevents lipolysis, you gain weight, you become obese and all. So how to prevent these insulin surges? The best way is to develop muscle, because when you have the muscle takes up the glucose irrespective of the insulin in the body. So the glucose sink will prevent the insulin surge from happening at all. So that when there is no insulin surge, your body is likely to be in a positive metabolic cycle. So muscle is often not looked as is just looked as an organ which helps you move, but it's an active endocrine organ. It's the biggest sponge for glucose when it is adequately built up. It releases some of the myokines which help in some of the other factors like lipolysis, etc. So how to build a muscle? You can do one of these 5 things. So those people who regularly go to gym have an idea about this. Now, it looks like I've made it very difficult. At least I hope that cardio, people have understood that it's not as difficult as we presume. You should know what you're doing. You should plan it right. You'll be able to do it. Now, when it comes to muscle building, also, there are certain strategies which you can follow to get the maximum advantage. So all of you know this gentleman, though this is probably not a right video. You see his amazing strength, and so this is another clip from Bruce Lee. See his amazing strength, and the way, these are not the days when AI or graphics were available. He jumps like an insect. He has that agility and power like an insect. Like, see how he's jumping. So that's the speed with which he can move. So that kind of a movement can happen only if you have a strength in your muscles. So most of my talk is inspired by this book, Body by Science. If you are a fitness enthusiast, I strongly suggest you to read this book. It's an amazing book by Doug McGough. It talks about how you should do exercise to get the maximum out of it. So in view of shortage of time, I'll go to the gist of it. So what he talks about is to understand the difference between type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. So what are type 2 muscle fibers? Type 2 muscle fibers are fast twitching fibers. These are actually, they consume glucose as a primary energy, and they only have a glycolytic pathway built into them. So again, going back into a little biochemistry, if you use a glucose molecule through both glycolysis and Krebs cycle, you get 32 ATP. Whereas if you use glucose molecule only for glycolysis, you are likely to get somewhere around 4 to 7 ATP, taking NADH also into consideration. This book amazingly brushes all your biochemistry knowledge. Again, if you are somebody who's very keen to learn the basics, this is an amazing book. So for the same glucose, which is used in type 2 fiber, the amount of ATP generated is small. Is that good? That is good, because you want to expend your glucose. You want to use off your glucose as much as possible. You don't want to conserve the glucose. So they say that if they extend the toilet paper fully, the last strip is the one in which the humanity is in calorie excess. Otherwise, for generations together, for decades, for millennia together, the humanity is in calorie deficit. So your body's mechanisms are built to preserve calories. Whereas now we are in the era where we have to lose calories. So how do we do that? We need to work on this type 2 fibers. So the idea is to build up your type 2 fibers. Now there are 2-3 advantages of building type 2 fibers. What? Number 1, type 2 fibers damage significantly. So is it good? Again, it's good, because they need to repair back. Any repair process will consume energy. Any repair process will consume glucose. Any repair process will consume proteins. Number 2, they predominantly use only glycolytic pathway, no Krebs cycle. So all the glucose is utilized, only little amount of energy is generated. So the glucose utilization is much, much higher. So with these 2 advantages, Type 2 muscle fibers are the ones which you have to concentrate on. So how do you build type 2 fibers? So the normal standard gym philosophy is to work out, say, 3 days, 5 days a week, work out for 45 minutes to 1 hour, number of reps, number of sets, all that matters. The concept that has been told in this book is what is called as a TUT, the time under tension. So what is time under tension? Say, for example, if you are doing a biceps rep, once you contract it, at the extremes of movement, you tend to relax the muscle. The muscle is not continuously contracting. Well, at the upper end and at the lower end, it's completely relaxed. Same way with leg press. If you're doing a leg press, once you extend it fully, there's a bone-on-bone tower, which helps in you in relaxing the muscle, because the weight is now taken by the gravity and the bones, not by the muscle anymore. So the recommended philosophy here is to never relax the muscle throughout your reps. So what you need to do is to do a 90 to 120 second continuous contraction. The time under tension for each muscle, the primary muscles, should be 90 to 120 seconds. So how do you do that? Yes, recommended 4 or 5 primary exercises which have to be done. I'll come to the epoch in a minute. So these are called the big 5. So I'll tell you today about 15 minutes of your gym time once in 5 to 7 days. That's all that is needed to build a strong base or strong muscle strength. So how do you do that? You need to do 5 exercises. One is rowing. The others are leg press, chest press. This is lat pull down for your latissimus dorsi, and the last one is the deadlifts for your shoulders. So these are the 5 exercises which you need to do. How do you do that? You do only once for 120 second period, during which the muscle never relaxes. Initially, type 1 fibers are recruited. As you continue to put the muscle under tension, there is no option for the muscle but to go for type 2 fibers. How severe should it be, or how intense should it be? It should be so intense that at the end of this activity, with your TUT, the time under tension more than 120 seconds, your muscles should have a momentary paralysis. That means you should not be able to walk steadily after that, after you do a, say, for example, leg press. So that is the intensity with which you have to do this exercise to keep the TUT achieved. So what is the advantage of it? Type 2 fibers are recruited. Type 2 fibers get damaged. They need to get repaired. So they need to work for the next few days for the muscles to build back. So what is the concept here? The concept here is, while doing the exercise, you're gaining the advantage of muscle building, also gaining the advantage of cardio. Now, where did cardio come from? Cardio came because for the next 3 to 5 days, your muscles are rebuilding. So there is a steady state calorie consumption. It's like doing a steady state aerobic activity continuously for the next 3 to 5 days without moving a muscle. So that is what it gives you the maximum advantage. Again, this is a theory from a book which has sound scientific principles, but whether it transforms into outcomes is something which we have to see. The crucial part is about recovery. We have to understand that recovery is the one which makes the major difference. Recovery is the time when your muscle is rebuilding. Recovery is the time when your body's glucose is being consumed, when all the metabolic advantages that you're getting during the phase of recovery. The last part, I'll end my talk with noting that you need to definitely have some parameters which you can monitor to better understand what is happening. Just doing an exercise regularly, running regularly is not sufficient, or going to a gym regularly is not sufficient. Understanding these 5 parameters which give you the best assessment of your improving metabolic health. See, it's a journey. It's not like you do your exercises for 3 months and stop. It's a journey over years. So having a smartwatch, measuring these as part of your routine should be done regularly to understand how your body is responding to the effort that you're taking. So the best way to get the maximum out of your exercise is to understand the physiology behind it. If you work in your heart rate zones, you get the best of cardio. If you work out to the maximum and get the maximum TUT to utilize your type 2 fibers, you get the maximum out of your resistance training. Both of them are equally important for your long term. Thank you for the patient hearing.